Hello everyone, I'm Sneha Sahiti Pamati and I'm pursuing my master's in the stream of data science at University of North Texas. So this is the paper that I have studied very recently and I have written the summary, critical analysis and also the questions that have been raised in my mind. So this paper is negative association rules. And the abstract for this paper is mining association rule associate events that took place together. In market basket analysis, they discovered rule association items purchased together, items that are not part of the transaction or not considered. In other words, typical association rules do not take into account items that are part of the domain but that are not together part of the transaction. Association rules are based on frequencies and count the transactions where items occur together. However, counting absences of items is prohibitive if the number of possible items is very large, which is typically the case. Nonetheless, knowing the relationship between the absence of an item and the presence of another can be very important in some applications. These rules are called negative association rules. So, we review current approaches for mining negative association rules and discuss limitations and further research directions. So, after reading the whole paper, summary that I have concluded is the given below. The purpose of this paper is some activities are combined in order to comply with the mining organizational standards. Studies done on market baskets have shown that there are some guidelines for grouping comparable products. Non-transactional components are not counted together with transactions overall cost, hence the typical. So don't believe in the same transaction and similar items are prohibited from the domain because they don't meet the standards set by association. A frequency based set of rules is used to create associations. How often an item is involved in numerous transactions. Monitoring those who fail to appear in the opposite if there are numerous potential commodities, the price of items could be too high. The situation is how it is right now. Using conventional association rule mining techniques, positive correlations between objects can be discovered, forming positive associations between the items which were in transaction. In market basket analysis, it is typical to consider both individual and group purchases. Objects that are used in transactions are thought to be more important than those that are not. Positive connections are those that affirm presence. Negative connections are those that deny presence. So, negative association rules are those that make connections between the presence and the absence of items. Even while others are purchases, some people choose not to, which might provide useful information on how people make purchases. So, um, milk and bread purchases go hand in hand quite strongly. Do you think people will purchase bottled water in addition to Coke or juice? But what if things went the other way? When establishing marketing strategies, for example, negative negative connections might be helpful in several situations. The computational challenges and downsides of mining rules of positive association, for instance, are examined by Agarwal and Yu due to the frequent need to work with enormous data set in order to extract negative association rules. The present methodologies aren't particularly effective. The longest calculation and association rule mining involves counting frequent occurring item sets. A search space for this size is used if there are two distinct items in the entire dataset. Just two factors can be evaluated to find positive association rules. As a result, adding negative items expands the search area considerably because every item in the collection, including those that weren't involved in a transaction, needs to be evaluated because they are still a part of it. There are a lot of boring negative patterns because the issue is also fairly complex. An important subject in this work is how effectively complicated and useful patterns may be discovered by mining negative association patterns. So, the analysis that I have done after reading this paper is in order to make predictions, classification models known as associative classifiers are used to find links in the data. Constraint association rules could be found by converting training data into transaction. Because of this restriction, the most common objects and rules now have categorization labels. Rule sets that have been trimmed to extra and superfluous rules are used to create an algorithm for categorization. It has been demonstrated that Negative association rules enhance the performance of associative classifiers during the training and classification phase. When feature X is absent, class Y cannot exist. These negative association rules, which are established and applied in conjunction with positive rules, are donated by X, Y, or X. If these beneficial tactics are not taken into mind, they'll be meaningless. Contrarily to common opinion, identifying negative association rules is a time and money consuming task. There must be at least two unfavorable aspects in an association rule for it to be considered as a negative association rule. It is difficult to mind negative associations as there are so many variables to consider. Let's say a customer buys milk and bread with the intention of analyzing the market basket. So this section have looked at the techniques of mining association rules with negations from the literature. Despite being an intriguing and difficult subject, little research have been done on it. The discovery of all known negative association rules is currently not possible due to the size of the complexity of the issue. This is the situation. Which algorithms is most appropriate of the given application is ultimately up to the user. Algorithms can be used if a taxonomy or replacement rules are given. If a user wants to find all the negative associations between pair of item sets, they should consider the techniques outlined. Other course of studies also are possible for this. And the thing what I have learned from this paper, the new information was that the enumeration tree has a first in, first out methodology. The end user is that unnecessarily speciality could be eliminated without first confirming more fundamental ideas. An updated PF value threshold must be set up when the new kth top rule is found that is lower than the pre-existing threshold. The size of the total search space is pi, where it is the power set of I. P is the power set of I, and it increases exponentially with the number of characteristics. In the basic branch and bound search, some minor rules may be reduced without further examination by including three lower bounds for the PF's value measure. The search method is spread considerably by using principle for Lopez philosophorum and pruning by minimality. The questions. So how about these negative association rules are used in the business field? And is there any particular field that we could able to use this? Yeah. And here are the references that I have taken this paper from. So this is all about the paper. Thank you. Thank you so much.